We have come to Kerala fairly early in the Commission's deliberations. The Commission began its deliberations by first visiting Arunachal. Thereafter, we visited Assam. We have completed our deliberations in Haryana, and we have now having our consultations in Kerala. We have had a fairly rich program which began yesterday in Kerala. We have had very extensive consultations with the local self-government department, with Mayor's Council, with Gram Panchayat Association, with Block Panchayat Association, District Panchayat Association, and of course we have had bilateral discussions with the Honorable Chief Minister. Today we have had full discussions with the Chief Minister and the Finance Minister. The Finance Secretary, following the Chief Minister's observations, made a very detailed presentation to the Commission on behalf of the state government. This was followed by a detailed memorandum which has been presented to us for the Commission's consideration, which is also before us. We have thereafter just finished our interaction with the representatives of all political parties, and we have heard them with great interest. We are going to have, after this media interaction, a meeting with the Trade and Industry Association, with 7 trade associations and the 6 industrial associations. Tomorrow we leave for Kochi. In Kochi we will be visiting and having field visits in Thrissur, to Korati, to Nutrimix, to Kodali, to the local self-government there. We will also have further discussions with the municipal authorities, and the following day we will also be having a visit to the Kochi Metro before leaving for Delhi. So we have combined discussions here with our field visits, which will complete more or less our discussions with the Kerala, in respect of the Kerala authorities. So I think at this stage, I will just share some broad impressions which the Commission has. First of all, we recognize and we must compliment the government for the enormous progress which Kerala has made in terms of per capita income and in terms of the classic parameters which deals with the Human Development Index. Kerala's record on education, on reduction of poverty, on important health parameters like MMR, IMR and others is almost comparable to a developed economy, and it would be comparable to one of the best examples which are available, and this is the outcome of very good the governance process here. The GDP of Kerala is significantly higher, which we know, than the GDP, average Indian GDP. On health and education, as I said, this is significantly better than the all India averages, and that it has succeeded in reducing its poverty dramatically, which is significantly lower. The state has the second lowest poverty ratio of just 7.75 by the Tendulkar methodology. It has an enormous potential to wipe out hunger and poverty in a short period of time. Apart from this, there are certain other favorable features. I must say that in respect of the local self-government, Kerala would be an example to all other states in India in terms of the triple devolution of finances, of functionaries, and in terms of empowering them to enhance their capability. It has a strong network of neighboring groups and self-help groups, and I must say that in respect of the working of the third tier, there is other states need to learn from Kerala's example, which could serve as a role model for the other parts of the country. It has made enormous progress on other social indicators, as an example, in terms of electrification, in terms of eliminating open defecation, and in terms of many other parameters or development. But is that the end of it, and are there no other concerns? I must say that the government of Kerala is conscious of the enormous challenges which lie ahead. Several, I will just point to 5-6 key challenges which they recognize must be a continuing kind of a process. First and foremost, to sustain a rate of growth which will be high enough to deal with the enormous expenditure outlays which Kerala has to necessarily make. That requires really a high rate of growth, a high proportion of this growth process being financed by the own revenues of Kerala, apart from dependence on whatever devolution is to come from the central government through the finance commissions, and no doubt from a continued expectation of high buoyancy from the GST as that GST begins to stabilize further. It has an enormous challenge in terms of managing its debt, because it looks as though on the debt to GDP ratio, which used to be only around 24-25, is, according to the AG Kerala, the figures of 2016-17 suggest that the debt to GDP has deteriorated to 28.96. The state also has a very high proportion of committed expenditure on salaries, interest payments and subsidies, which are about now 63% of the revenue expenditure, and it consumes about 76% of the revenue receipts for the period 2012-13 to the period 2016-17. The state government needs to really address this issue, and they recognize the need to do so. Apart from this, on the debt side, we did bring to their notice, and they are conscious of it, that 68% of the new borrowings undertaken by the state in 2016-17 has really gone to repay past debt, and that the need to really garner more resources or a better restructuring to improve capital expenditure in the state. In addition to that, the pension liabilities of the state have gone up. Kerala has the problems of funding an aging population. The success which the Kerala has achieved in terms of achieving a demographic replacement rate, which is very significant, has to be balanced with the increased liability of looking after a somewhat aging population, having achieved enormous success on the demographic front. On fiscal trends and on broad macroeconomic policies, the fiscal deficit of Kerala really have gone up, but there is a commitment has gone up from 3.64 in 2012-13. It went up to 4.29 in 16-17, and revenue deficit as a percentage of the GSDP also increased from 2.27 to 2.51. But Kerala has shown a capacity and a commitment to come back to a 3% fiscal deficit in the near term, and this will of course mean a significant improvement from current levels. They are also shown a commitment to bring down the revenue deficit and to increase the capital expenditure thereafter. In the process of doing so, they recognize that the enormous challenge of managing public sector undertakings in Kerala in terms of an improved performance of the financial management of the State Electricity Board and the Kerala State Transport Corporation are two important public sector entities which are currently having a dependence on high state government support. The government recognizes that in order to improve the debt to GDP ratio in the medium term and to sustain this kind of a fiscal consolidation roadmap, they need to really look at the working of the public sector undertakings, the manpower requirement rationalization of the manpower engaged in these public sector undertakings, and of course improve the overall profitability of these undertakings. It has enormous possibility in terms of improving its earnings from multiple sources. It has the ability, perhaps one of the best developed human resource and human development talent, and using Kerala's coastline and enormous beauty in terms of, say, promoting tourism would be one way forward. So these are some of the very broad impressions which I have gathered from my interaction. This government is committed to really high quality governance. They are conscious of all these issues, and these are early days for the Commission. It has raised the issue in the memorandum of the terms of reference of this Commission's work contained in the presidential notification, but they understand that the Commission is in no way responsible for fixing these terms of reference and the concerns which they have on these terms of reference. We are the recipients of these terms of reference, not the creators of these terms of reference, but these are the terms of reference currently, and the Commission is committed to three things. It is committed to certainly addressing the terms of reference, but not necessarily accepting all of them or the nuances contained. It is committed to an even-handed position in regard to central and state government, both receiving and being viewed in a totality. It has no predilections or biases. We are committed to giving a report which is fair, rational, and reasonable by multiple parameters. In this process, no doubt, we will have to balance the compulsions of equity with the compulsions of efficiency in terms of a combination of reward and incentives which seeks to harmonize these conflicting objectives, but looking at the most optimum use of the limited or the resources which may form part of the revenue, which have to be divided both vertically and horizontally. We recognize that our obligation is contained in the Constitution, and we will be fully addressing the constitutional obligations as contained in Article 280 of the Constitution and as further elaborated in our detailed terms of reference.